Force, a Jedi. All of it. It's all true.
Hello there, my fellow Star Wars fans, and welcome to Star Wars Fiction, where we discuss everything Star Wars. This channel was created for any and all Star Wars fans, but especially for those who like to dive deep into the details and what-ifs of our favorite galaxy far, far away. And on Fridays, just like this one, we will feature a fanfiction story based on what if something was different in the Star Wars story, which we were told. Since this is our first episode, I want to make it special for you by telling you the story of what if Darth Vader, or should I say Anakin Skywalker, survived Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. How would the galaxy as we know it change? What events would be altered? Would Anakin be able to confront the ghosts of his past? Most importantly, how is Han going to react to meeting the real father of Princess Leia? Well, in order to find out the answers to these questions and more, we're going to need to make the jump into this fan fiction. And, without further ado, let's punch it. Our story begins in the Emperor's private hangar bay, aboard the second Death Star. Alarms of imminent destruction are going off, followed by Imperial troopers and officers alike trying to find a way off of this doomed battle station. Luke has used the last of his energy to carry his father to the Emperor's personal shuttle. But, before they can make it up the ramp, Luke stumbles as his strength gives out under the heavy suit of Darth Vader. He quickly recovers enough energy to prop his father up onto the shuttle ramp before Anakin stares upon his son's face from the mask of Vader. "Luke, help me take this mask off," he manages to say. "But you'll die," Luke responds back with fear in his voice. "Nothing can stop that now," is all Anakin can say before slowly turning his head to look at something behind Luke. Knowing that time is short, Luke quickly glances behind him, but is stunned to find the Force ghosts of Ben Kenobi, Master Yoda, and some other Jedi that Luke has never heard of or seen before. "Obi-Wan," is all Anakin can manage to say as his head begins to slowly lower back down. "What are you doing here?" Luke asks. Obi-Wan then briefly smiles, saying, "The Force is not done with your father. He has only begun the task of balancing it." "I don't understand," Luke manages to say, but Yoda steps forward, tapping his walking stick on the ground. "Time to explain now. There is not young Skywalker. Losing consciousness, your father is. You must immediately go to an asteroid facility called Polis Massa, where Anakin can be treated," the other tall-bearded Jedi says. Luke nods and quickly begins to help his father up the ramp. His connection to the Force informs him that his father's life force is barely hanging on and that the station will explode at any given time. "Your father will make it until you arrive," Ben Kenobi shouts to Luke as the ramp begins to close. He quickly secures Anakin to a medical bed and rushes to the cockpit for the shuttle controls. Seconds later, the Lambda-class Imperial shuttle lifts off and races out of the hangar of the second Death Star. Just then, there is a massive explosion, which destroys the battle station, and the flames and debris are barely avoided thanks to Luke's expert piloting skills. He senses the extreme loss of life that has just caused a huge ripple in the Force. He can also sense his father's Force presence, waning in and out of consciousness, hanging on just barely. Quickly, he punches in the coordinates from the Imperial nav computer to Polis Massa. As the ship makes a jump into hyperspace, Luke goes to check on his father, who he finds in a Force-like coma, which is being used to preserve his life. He then attempts to contact Leia via the onboard comm computer by putting in her coordinates, but there's no response. He then uses the Force to try and reach her, and he can just barely feel her presence. Luke concedes from his efforts, knowing that he is tired and weak. "This whole battle station has taken a toll on me, and probably the communications field. I'll have to try again when we land," he says to himself as he leans back in his chair, instantly passing out from pure exhaustion. We now travel back to the forest moon of Endor, where there's a huge party going on with members of the Rebel Alliance and the Ewoks. Leia Organa, Princess of Alderaan, is standing outside the village having a discussion with the smuggler known as Han Solo. She has R2-D2 continuously monitoring the Rebel communications for any new messages while scanning the atmosphere for any incoming ships. I don't know why Luke isn't back yet, or why he hasn't at least made contact that he made it off that thing, she says, turning to Han. Luke's a Jedi, and a damn good one. I'm sure if anyone survived, it'd be him, Han says. He pauses, pacing back and forth a few feet, clearly disturbed by Luke's absence as well. Are you sure I can't convince you to come back to the party? Leia just shakes her head and lets a moment of silence pass. He's my brother, you know. Han is clearly surprised by this new information, looking up in shock in his face. Well, clearly he had to be that, but he is cut off by Leia. We were separated from each other at birth, to probably be protected. Neither of us got to know our mother much, and well, our father's even more complicated, she finishes with a distraught look on her face. Han then moves in to embrace Leia. We can talk about this later. As much as I would like to know, I want you to be okay, just like Luke, he says with suspicion in his mind. Then, out of nowhere, 2 stun shots are fired from the forest. Han and Leia both fall to the ground, unable to move. As R2 begins to let out a beep, he is quickly disabled by an ID-9 seeker droid. Very hastily, 2 black armor Imperial soldiers rush over to the bodies. Targets identified as General Han Solo and former Senator Leia Organa. What are your orders, Commander? Asks a male voice through a black Special Ops helmet. Agent Hask, grab Organa and leave the other one there. A blaster shot would give away our location. An Inferno squad has received orders to retreat. The Admiral will be pleased to know we have captured a high-ranking rebel. Understood, Commander. I have also planted a communications disruptor nearby, which will take some time to discover, says Agent Hask as he picks up Leia's body and retreats with it back into the forest. We then travel to a distant asteroid belt, which is best known as the medical facility of Polis Massa. The Lambda-class Imperial shuttle, piloted by Luke, is quickly brought down onto the main landing pad, where a medical team is already waiting. As soon as the ramp is lowered, the pre-instructed medical team enters the shuttle to retrieve and transport the unconscious Anakin Skywalker, under the supervision of his son Luke. We must take Lord Vader in for immediate surgery, if we are to save him, the chief medical officer says as they begin walking fast. Luke just nods and decides not to argue about how his father is addressed at the moment. Now inside the medical bay, Luke sits down and waits to hear about his father's progress. Unfortunately, he has still been unable to reach Leia or Han through their comm frequencies, and has decided to close his eyes and meditate instead. As he begins to let go of his thoughts and emotions, he can sense the growing life force within his father once more. But Luke begins to see something else, far from the asteroid that he is on. He is on board an Imperial Raider corvette and sees 2 Special Forces troopers interrogating Han and Leia. Then, there is a flash. An Imperial Admiral is having a discussion with someone about an upcoming operation. Luke then sees the face of no other than Emperor Palpatine. Now clearly frightened, he thinks to himself, no, this can't be possible. He's dead. He then tries to focus harder for an explanation from the Force. Luke sees a massive Imperial shipyard that he does not know of, and then the planet Naboo, where there are massive satellites orbiting the planet and causing havoc via severe lightning storms on the planet below. But before Luke can sense anything else, he hears a voice speaking to him. Sir, Lord Vader is regaining consciousness. You might want to come with me, says the lead medical officer of Polis Massa. Luke opens his eyes and nods, and stands to go see his awakened father. And cut! Alright guys, that's a wrap for part 1 of our fanfiction story. Part 2 will be uploaded next Friday. In the meantime, please stay tuned for tomorrow's episode, where I would like to discuss Star Wars in 2019, A New Hope, for exciting content. I think this new year will be a great opportunity for Lucasfilm to do a great many things for its fans, and I will go into those details for you then. So make sure to subscribe and hit that bell notification icon to be the first to know when new content is uploaded. And if you liked what you saw, please give us a like and consider sharing our video,
What you have done.
as this will really help our channel grow into something amazing that we can all be a part of. Thank you again for checking us out, and we will see you next time for more Star Wars fiction. Have a great day or night, wherever you may be in the galaxy far, far away, and may the Force be with you.